Hi everyone, it's Laura here for CC Designs, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to mix and match different stamp sets to create a cute spring card. As a first step, I started working on my background. I have a piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock cut at 4¼ by 5½ inches, and I'm going to do some ink blending with Distress Oxides. I wanted a soft pink background, so I chose worn lipstick and spun sugar, and I'm going to blend them on my panel, trying to get a gradient effect, which is darker on the bottom and lighter on the top. I am using my foam ink blenders and I am applying the inks with circular motions, starting from the edges of the paper and moving towards the inside. And then on the areas where the two inks meet, I'm going to go back and forth between the worn lipstick and the spun sugar until I get a smooth gradient. And using this paper, the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, makes it even easier to get a smooth blend. To add a little bit of interest on the background, I'm going to use the Mini Heart Stencil by CC Designs together with the Nouveau Glimmer paste in the color Moonstone. This will add texture and sparkle to the background thanks to the gluten contained in the glimmer paste. I am applying the paste with a plastic spatula, making sure to get a full coverage over the whole panel. And then once I am happy with the amount of glimmer paste that I have put down, I'm going to remove the stencil and quickly rinse it off under my sink together with the spatula, because you don't want the glimmer paste to dry on your stencil, otherwise it will be very difficult to remove. I can leave the background aside to dry and move on and work on the rest of the elements for the card. I wanted to create an ink-blended cloudy sky, and for that I created my own DIY stencil by die cutting some acetate with the cloud die in the Cloud and Grass die set by CC Designs. I have another piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock by Strathmore cut at 4 by 5¼ inches, and I'm going to use the stencil to create the cloudy sky. I'm going to blend again Distress Oxides, and I used the colors Mermaid Lagoon, Peacock Feathers and Tumbled Glass. I started with Mermaid Lagoon in the lower portion of my panel. I then moved on to Peacock Feathers, and the last Distress Oxide that I ink blended was the Tumbled Glass, and this allowed me to create some sort of a gradient effect on my sky as well. In order to get a soft look, I am using a light hand and I'm dabbing off the excess ink on my glass mat before applying it to the paper. And then to add a little bit of shimmer to this panel as well, I brushed over some Perfect Pearls in the color Perfect Pearl. This will stick to the areas where I have my Distress Oxides and will add a very subtle but very beautiful shimmer to the sky. Because I will be creating a little scene on the front of my card, I need some grass, and for that I die cut some Bristol Smooth cardstock by Strathmore with the grass border dies in the Cloud and Grass die set by CC Designs, and I'm going to add color and shading using Distress Oxides in Mod Lawn and Twisted Citron. I am keeping the Twisted Citron on the top part of these die cuts and having the Mod Lawn, which is a bit darker, just on the bottom, and this way I create the illusion of depth on my scene. I added some water droplets to the die cuts in order to create a distressed look and add interest, and then I moved on and started working on my images. The stamps that I used today are the April and May stamp set and the Spring Things stamp set by CC Designs. I really like mixing and matching different stamp sets. I think this is a great way to stretch your supplies, and these two sets work really great together. I'm stamping them with scrapbook.com premium hybrid black ink on some Bristol Smooth cardstock by Strathmore, and I'll be doing some coloring with Zicklin Color Rio brush markers. These are water-based markers that you can blend with each other or with water. And for today's coloring, I decided to use two markers. So I'm laying down the darker one in the areas where I think the shadows will be. I'm then blending that out with my mid-tone marker, and I'm creating the highlights by blending them out with water towards the areas that I think will be lightest. I'm shading the images as if the light comes from the top right of the screen, so my shadows are mostly focused on the left and bottom parts of the images. I used some warm yellows for the ducks and some oranges to color in the beaks and the legs. To match the pink of my background, I decided to use some pinks to color in the umbrella and the bow of this little duck over here. And Zicklin Color Rio brush markers are a very quick way to add color to your cards, and you don't need a lot of markers because by blending them with water, you're already able to create your color gradients with one or two markers. I added some shading to the clouds and colored the little puddle of water with some blues. And then I moved on and colored the flowers and the butterflies. I used some greens for the leaves, and then I colored the flowers in different colors. I used some pinks, some yellows, I used some lilacs also for the butterflies, and I decided to also leave some of the flowers white. So for those I added some quick shading, either with a light blue marker or with a pink marker to add some variation. I'm using my water brush to blend out the color. And once the coloring is done, I can go ahead and die cut all the images with the coordinating dies. Again, the stamp sets that I used are the Spring Things and the April and May stamp sets by CC Designs, and you will find a list of all the products that I used in the description box here on YouTube as well as on the blog. And after I was done with die cutting all the images, which took just a few runs through my die cutting machine, I went ahead and started working on assembling the card. I decided to use the In and Out circles by CC Designs to die cut my cloudy sky as well as my grassy borders. This way I have a smaller panel compared to that 4 by 5¼ inches that I had ink blended before, and I have more room for my background with the glimmer paste to show through. I used my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to glue the grassy borders to the sky panel, and having these two grassy borders that overlap each other adds a feeling of dimension and depth to the scene. And after that, I went ahead and glued down all the images. I started from the flowers that I used to fill in the back of the scene. I added the clouds to the sky to add more interest to that area of my circular panel. And finally, I arranged these adorable ducks on the front of the scene. I added the two butterflies too to fill in the sky area a little bit more, and then I moved on to my sentiment. I stamped the sentiment Happiness is You, and this one is part of the Spring Things stamp set. I then cut a banner around the sentiment and glued my background on an A2 size card base after having trimmed it down to 4 by 5¼ inches. And then I could go ahead and adhere the scene as well as the sentiment to my card. And for that I used one layer of foam tape. I tried with liquid adhesive, but because of all the texture on the background, that wasn't working out very well. So instead I used some foam tape, which also added dimension to the card. And then it was time for the finishing touches. I added some sparkle to the clouds, to the bow of the duck as well as the umbrella, and to the butterflies too. I then coated the beaks of the ducks, the umbrella and the bow of the girl duck with some glossy accents, and this adds some nice shine and a little bit of dimension to the projects, and also seal in the sparkle from the Spectrum Noir clear overlay pen. And as a very last detail, I added some Nuvo drops in Simply White around the sentiment banner. And I like to add them in different sizes because I think it creates even more interest on the card. And here is the final result. I think it's really pretty with the soft pink background and absolutely adorable with these cute ducklings. And I am always very happy when I manage to mix and match different stamp sets like I did for this card. And that's it for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I inspired you to create with the April and May and Spring Things stamp sets by CC Designs. Don't forget to subscribe to the CC Designs channel for more inspiration. Thank you all so much for stopping by and have a great day.